My name is Stacy Fisher, and I am a movement specialist, and I educate people on how to take care of their brains to avoid cognitive decline. So, most of us are familiar with dementia and Alzheimer's, and I heard a few mutterings of family stories. So, before I get into my speech, I would like to know, why are you interested in brain health? Gemma, or maybe
I'm just intrigued, really. How it can obviously how it can help. How it can help. I mean, we have dementia in the family as well. Well, actually, Tandem does. So it is interesting in that aspect as well. But I'm just really interested. Really.
okay,
Yeah.
Jen?
So I have a family history. My paternal grandfather passed away with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. So I just want to know what I can start doing now to help prevent it or lessen the effects.
A lot. Great.
Yeah.
Perfect. Lauren?
First, I want to support you. I love learning from you, so that's part of why I'm here. And also because I think the human brain is fascinating, and the fact that we don't have or make access to a huge portion of our brain, it'd be really nice to know, especially I'm going to my 40s, perimenopause coming up, those kind of things, like how I can keep my brain-body connection really, really healthy as I process into the next phase.
Yeah, and you touched on a really important part as to why it affects women more than men. We're starting to lean in the direction of it having strong links toward perimenopause and menopause and the hormonal fluctuation that we experience that men do not. Men have their own andropause, but it's different in its relationship to the brain. Excellent. We'll come back to that. Alicia?
I don't think we have like Alzheimer's, dementia in our family. That being said, my family members, I'm just thinking back on both sides, have died quite young, like in the scheme of things. So even if we do have Alzheimer's and dementia, maybe we do, but we just haven't had the access to it in old
Perhaps.
age.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, my ultimate goal in life is just a long health span. It's not even about having a long lifespan necessarily, although that too, but also to be cognitively and physically well and strong for as long as I'm alive.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm constantly berate with questions throughout melt classes and outside. So I love learning about, like what Lauren said, like the connection to brain and body and how I can work out my brain in ways that will support my longevity.
Right. Astrid?
Well, first of all, because recently I subscribed to your newsletter and I found it very
Thank you.
helpful for me because
Good.
I've been changing my dietary habits because I've been having like a lot of cramps during my periods, and my gynecologist, he told me like he wouldn't like make a surgery or something to try to treat that condition because I could change it with my diet. So like taking the gluten away, or also reducing lactose consumption, and of course sugar. So I've been changing, like in Panama we have the tradition of eating a lot of rice and a lot of fried things. And even if my mom, she's a nutritionist, but she has told these things my whole life to me and my siblings. But I don't know, it's just different right now because now I'm like aware and I want to be more conscious about the things I'm introducing to my body. So yeah, that's why I'm here, and also because my dad, he's 76, and he might have dementia. In Spanish, we call it demencia senile. I don't know how to say exactly. How to say it in English, but yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing because he doesn't want to go to therapy or to be checked by a practitioner. So sure, yeah.
And the best thing you can do is, be around him, lead by example with your lifestyle, because even if he has, I don't know if he doesn't go get checked, he doesn't know at what phase he's at in his diagnosis, but you can slow the decline significantly. Even if you have Alzheimer's or dementia, you can slow the decline with these lifestyle practices. And food is a primary one. And this talk is not about food, but nutrition is an enormous part of brain health. And so I asked Fernando to specifically make foods that are on what we call the brain health food pyramid, which I'll show you later. So in front of you, you have shredded vegetables. You have, looks like broccoli and kale, some carrots. Broccoli and kale, they're in the cruciferous family, and they're very important to brain health. You have a blueberry and yogurt sauce. Blueberries are one of the most important brain health foods. Anything deep in color. So we've got kale is deep green, blueberries are deep blue. The more you can eat colorful foods, better. A sweet potato would be a good example, or a pumpkin would be an example of a really bright orange, right? So we have a carrot in here. We have quinoa, which is an excellent source of protein, and so it kind of satiates that carb side of the brain as well. There's also carbs within the vegetables as well. You have chicken or fish, both of which are a lower saturated fat choice for protein. Within the brain health diet, beans are a primary source of protein, beans and nuts and seeds. There's also some peanuts, which are lower on the brain health spectrum. The nut with the highest amount of antioxidant level, do you know what that is? Can you guess? No, a nut, like a
wait, with the highest amount of what?
antioxidant.
Almond?
No.
No, not almond.
What was the question again, sorry?
What is the nut with the highest antioxidant level? No, that's the highest. That's the highest. The highest is a pecan. Isn't that surprising? Exactly. A walnut looks exactly like your brain. Exactly like your brain. And the walnut is one of the most brain healthy foods. So we use a lot of nuts in cooking. And so I love incorporating nuts into meals. And I think a lot of people think of nuts as just like a snack. But the more you can incorporate nuts into your cooking themselves, in pestos, in pastas, as a meat replacement, the better. So again, we're not going to get into like the weeds on all of what you should be eating. All of that is in my colleague's book if you want to check out the brain health pyramid. But the way that things are cooked also matters. I just want to touch on that. Fernando did pan fry the fish and the chicken, which is okay, especially if you're frying in like a high heat oil, like avocado oil. But like olive oil, for example, you would not want to cook in because it burns at a high heat. And so the ideal way to cook is a slow fire. So you think of like a slow cooker on a pot on the stove. And what he did is he simmered a lot of this in olive oil. Olive oil is like the #1 brain health food. It's packed with polyphenols, which are just nutrition straight to your brain.
I see. So you're saying using olive oil is good, but doing it is slow burn.
Slow burn and using olive oil. So what he's been doing lately is he's been taking garlic, for example, and resting it in high quality olive oil for 24 hours. And then he pours it over the top of your meal. That's what's in here. Garlic is also one of the vegetables. It's an allium that's in the list. And so the process of cooking is as important as what you are cooking. So frying and grilling, not the best. Like those little black brown marks on your grill food, that is direct inflammation to your body and your brain. Everything in moderation. That's what, yeah.
All I do is grill.
Yeah, so don't eat the blackbirds. But I just wanted to bring attention to it because it's something that we do at least 3 times a day, most of us, is eat. And so it is really important to think of every session that you eat, to not get, hyper focused on it, but can I incorporate a few brain healthy foods into every meal? And probably for most of us, eat a few more beans. I personally could not tolerate beans when I was younger. I just didn't grow up with it, so my stomach didn't really tolerate them. But over the course of 10 years, I've been training myself to eat more beans, and I can do it. But it takes a little bit of time to get your gut used to that. Why are the beans good? Because they are packed with fiber. There's also apples in here, another good source of fiber. Fiber is another really important part of kind of the brain-gut axis. So you may have heard that the gut and the brain are are one and the same, and gut health is brain health, and it's true. And so the more that you can keep your gut healthy, which includes elimination, which is aided by fiber, the healthier your whole body and your brain will be. So
back to beans. What
beans.
specific type of bean, like which kind of beans?
No, not necessarily. No. Organic would be ideal if you can get it. While we're on, sorry.
Can I make a super quick bean comment? For a family of people that aren't used to eating beans or legumes, if you soak them, even if you get them canned, soak them for a bit.
Yeah.
Because it helps release some of the toxins that actually
Yeah.
create the gas bubbles inside your belly that
Yeah.
keep blowing into discomfort. So if you can make your beans ready in the morning, soak them in some water, just cover them in a little wrap, and then by the time you're ready to cook, they release some of the toxins into your belly.
Yeah, and for me, even that still is too much. I have a very sensitive stomach when it comes to beans, so I pressure cook mine in the Instant Pot. If you have a pressure cooker, for me it takes all of that problem away. Yeah.
Do you think that would work? I know I asked this yesterday, but maybe you know the answer to this. Do you think that would work in a rice cooker? Because I don't have a pressure cooker.
There's things that more like that fast, high heat, like water cooking, right?
Yeah.
That's what's going to help release the toxins.
Yeah.
And so it gets like the air and the toxin chemical out of the meat brain, so that when you cook it and cut it to the around 3 minutes,
Canned beans or no?
sometimes if I have time, maybe I would just use canned garbanzos. It also helps to get a little bit of the salt out.
Yeah.
Things that have been soaked in for a while.
Preservatives. Yeah, so I don't want to get too far down the road, but I run brain health retreats with an old client of mine who, the whole reason I got into this is because we would just talk about brain health in our sessions, because her mom had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And so she was a retired OBGYN at that time and always had a passion for cooking. And so she also had all this access to scientific research through her medical degree. And so she started diving into the research and found that, in fact, she could help her mom slow the age of her cognitive decline with food and other lifestyle factors. So at the end of all of that, years later, came her book, The Brain Health Kitchen. And many years ago, we started teaching these little brain health camps just like this at our local hospital. And it was quite funny because we partnered with this physician who was really sweet. But she started with standing up and saying, here are all the ways you're going to die from Alzheimer's. And everybody's face just went blank. People didn't show up the next day. And we just looked at each other and we thought, okay, there has to be a better way to do this. Food is fun and fitness can be fun for some. And so we really just focused our program on food and fitness, mindfulness, and empowerment. So giving you the information so that you can make a plan that fits your life. And so within her book, she has, Annie primarily focuses on food. So there's her story, all the brain health information you need, and it's constantly evolving. So she also has a blog where she does all the research and the deep dives. But what's really cool is she has her own little brain health food pyramids, which make it very easy to understand where to begin. And what's fascinating about it, I wish I should have tagged these before, is, for example, berries have their own pyramid. Greens have their own pyramid. So it's not just eat more vegetables, it's how many cups of kale, how many cups of cruciferous. So it gets really specific. Like, for example, I put in my newsletter, sumac. I didn't know this until she taught me. Sumac is a berry. It's a savory berry. So are capers. Capers are a brain healthy food. I never would have thought that. Olives. I never would have thought that in my life. So I've learned so much from Annie, just with the scientific side and the nutrition side. And what we found in our conversations was that the movement piece and the meditation piece, I was already really teaching within my sessions to everyone, because I just tend to take more of a blended holistic approach in diversity in movement. And so I had said, oh, okay, well, that makes me feel good because I'm already doing a lot more than I thought. You know, we tend to think, oh, I need to climb this big hill and I need to eat 20 cups of kale every week and I need to exercise every day. And you don't. And the fact is, you're probably already doing a lot more than you think. That's the good news. So before we move forward, you all have a little wheel in front of you. This is your lifestyle check-in, because like I said, there's a lot of different components of brain health. You're going to go to this page. It says lifestyle, balance, and your brain. And you're going to do that. Does everybody have a pen? Okay. So look at each section and place a dot on the line, marking how satisfied you are with each area of your life. A dot placed toward the center of the circle indicates dissatisfaction, while a dot placed toward the outside indicates satisfaction. Once you're done, connect the dots. See if your circle makes a circle. If you need clarification on any of the categories, tell me and I can give you some examples. So this is your opportunity to be really honest with your brain inventory.
What else? Restoration.
Yeah, so like that would be like meditation, deep breathing, massage, things that make you feel calm. Okay, this isn't a competition, but I want to see your circles or not circles. Okay, we got an oblong one. We got a rock. Oh, she's got a heart. Cute. Super cute.
It's more like a draw.
We got, yeah, teardrop. Yeah. So you get the point. Ideally, we want our wheel to look like a wheel, and it's kind of never possible, right? Our lives are always in balance, and I love using these as a check-in. And you could do these on your own, right? You could do it with anything in your life. Am I doing enough art? Am I, spending enough time with my dog? You could do it anytime, but I think they're great check-ins to see where you're starting, and then you could implement some of the things you're learning. Can I see yours, Jen? You have a frowny face. Okay, good.
I really think clients when I first start working with them, like we go through like the different areas of their lives and then set some goals and focus around like those areas specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And then same midpoint check-in and the endpoint check-in, and they're like it's like fascinating. So it's a really nice tool. I do mine in spreadsheet form, of course.
Of course.
Same concept.
So what I could do is send you a copy of these, and you could do it again in 3 months' time and see. And don't look at your old one. That's the thing. You have to kind of like put it away and then do it again, because you'll forget, and then compare them side by side, and then you'll go, oh, I am doing enough. Good job. Right. So we're going to come back to this in a moment, come up with some strategies. And so now there are some facts that you should know about brain health. Here comes the not so fun part about brain health. It's like not a fun topic to talk about, right? It's scary. We know we have people we love that die from it. Both of my grandmothers, one passed from Alzheimer's, one from dementia. And the reason why Annie and I got into these long conversations, because I thought that dementia was my destiny. I really, truly thought that. I was like, well, both my grandmas got it, so I'm going to get it. There's nothing I can do. And in reality, only 2% of cases are genetic, which means that lifestyle and certain triggers, right? You can be a carrier to have certain genes within yourself, like one carrier, two copies of the gene. It doesn't, even if you have the gene, does not mean you're going to get Alzheimer's or dementia, especially if you implement these lifestyle factors. So for somebody who follows basic guidelines, you can reduce your risk up to 60%, which is, to me, totally worth the effort. If you have 1 or 2 copies of the genes, you can reduce your risk up to 30%, which is still amazing. So 2%, those 2% of cases, those usually present as early onset. And so that's the people that you maybe saw the movie or read the book, Still Alice. Early onset, where it shows up around age 50, and that's actually quite rare. So
both my cousins, one of my cousins, so I assume both of them maybe, but one of my cousins has both genes, like he's a carrier from both his parents. Did one of those like 23andMe whatever assessments, and learned that he has
Mhm.
So they've basically like gone vegan and they've cut out a bunch of like things. I'm sure they're doing other things, but I know that that was a big impetus for some massive life changes having that test done.
And you know what? And it's great because he absolutely can shift the outcome. You know, we don't know. It's up to God, but like you can try your best to shift, and the statistics actually are in your favor to put the effort forth. There are approximately 6.7 million Americans living with Alzheimer's. I don't have a global number. 4 million of them are women, which means that 1 in 5 women in America will end up with Alzheimer's. Why? You pointed on to one, which could be the hormonal flux, especially the drop in estrogen during perimenopause and menopause. They're still studying it, but it's looking to be a very strong link. Secondly, some of the sleep issues that come with women and child care.
Yeah.
We get less sleep. We just do, especially when you have a newborn. And so those are kind of the two main differential factors. 98% of those cases appear after the age of 60. But the thing is that the cognitive decline is starting 20 years prior most of the time. So I'm assuming most of us are 40, late 30s, early 40s, mid 40s. Now is the perfect time to start making deposits into your brain bank account. The earlier you start saving, the more it's going to pay off a dividend later. You have to think about your brain as a savings account. So doing it right now is the best time. It doesn't mean that when you're 60, it's too late to start. Absolutely not. You start where you're at. But right now, this is the prime time. And it's also the prime time. We kind of missed the boat a little bit. It's like 30 to 35 is for bone health, but it's not over, right? So bone health, the primary zone where you can really build that bank account is like in your 30s, and the brain is 30s, 40s. So I hope this gives you, some motivation to get going now. Don't wait.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
I know this is the bone health talk, but how does that present in age? Like you said, you can like start doing things in age 30. Like how would that present if you are susceptible to bone health?
Well, yeah, I mean, bone health, you're not necessarily gonna. You might notice something like if you break bones easily. That's number one.
Sure.
The best thing you can do is just weight bearing exercise. So anything except for swimming and cycling is considered bone building, and especially jumping, which a lot of us avoid. Jumping, and that could be like light hopping, but jumping is really good for brains. Those shake plates, vibration, jump rope.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, y'all remember I guess in America we had a jump rope for your heart in the 80s. Jump rope. Honestly, it's a very good exercise. And strength training, actually lifting weights beyond your body weight. Those are the primary ways. And then obviously eating calcium, and that doesn't mean guzzle lots of milk, because actually there's more calcium in some vegetables than there is milk. So, and milk is kind of lower on the brain health spectrum. Dairy products are not super recommended. Drink and eat in moderation. So, yeah, it's specific to each person, and I forget what age they recommend doing a bone density test, but I think it's like 60. I feel like it should be earlier though, a little bit, to get a baseline. So I feel like kind of around the time when perimenopause, menopause is coming in, like that's a good time to get these baseline tests to say, where am I starting, so that you know if things are declining or not as you get into your 60s and 70s. Mm-hmm. So African Americans are 2 times as likely to develop Alzheimer's as white people, and Latinos are 1.5 times more likely to develop Alzheimer's. No, I don't know. I don't know the facts on that, because that brings up an interesting point. Do you guys know what a blue zone is?
Mm-hmm.
What's a blue zone?
Where people live a lot.
Why do they live a long time? Do you know why?
Lifestyle, diet, just like lack of stress. Low cortisol levels.
Yeah. So Kambutal is a mini blue zone. I don't know if you know that. It is cute. Why?
How do you know that?
Why? Because I know all the components that go into having a blue zone. You eat beans. It's a nutritional component. That's one. Community, super strong sense of community. Low stress. Sleep. How many times you drive along the road, you see somebody sleeping in a hammock in the afternoon? Do we go to bed early and get up early? Do we sleep with the sun? Okay, so we're sleeping with a normal, natural circadian rhythm.
Yeah, sorry that I'm interrupting, but
No, please.
I used to live here for a year and a half, remember?
Mhm.
And then when I moved, I started to stay awake like 2 or 2.5 more hours than regularly. And now that I'm here a week ago, it's like, oh my god, after 6:30 p.m. I cannot do that much of it. You know, I need to eat my dinner before 6 and wash the dishes and everything before 6:30 because after that there's no way I'm gonna do anything because at 8:39 sleeping and
totally.
see also. Wow. So yeah, that
That's
was
fascinating.
Yep.
yeah, it's incredible.
It's true.
Like it's not something that I read somewhere. It's something that it actually happens to me when I come back on the every time.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a blue zone, and it also has two things nutritionally that are really important because they're high in phytonutrients, which is coffee and cacao.
What did you say?
Coffee and cacao. Coffee can actually lower your risk for brain health disease. Brain diseases. Yeah, brain diseases. So, matcha is the other super food for your brain, and there's loads of recipes in there all about matcha. That's for another day. That's a whole class in itself just on matcha and coffee. So what things does kombucha have against brain health? And Astrid, you mentioned a couple: fried food, rice. On the wheel, you see I have overall health, glucose, so there's a high incidence of diabetes. There's a high incidence of high blood pressure, cholesterol. These things are rampant in Panama and in kombucha. And when you have what they've found in a lot of these autopsies is people who have Alzheimer's or dementia, they have concurrent metabolic diseases like cardiovascular disease, like diabetes. So whether your goal is metabolic health, diabetes, brain health, bone health, it's kind of the same recommendations as far as food and movement. Okay, so it's going to cross over. There's no like, oh, this is going to only treat this. Obviously, you can get specific with when it comes to especially hormonal health and really eating specific for your body. But as a general guidance, what's great about this plan and these ideas is that you're going to help your overall health no matter what. So, questions so far?
The only thing I was thinking is like obviously we're always thinking about our children's health, you know, like wanting to calculate it, but obviously there's they play a part in them as well, wouldn't it? Because they're only going to do great things for them to try and introduce more, because you know, like vegetables can be a battle sometimes, but
I think you bring up a good point. Is like with kids, more like limiting the negative things, which is the same for adults. So limiting sugar, processed sugar to the best of your ability. It's impossible. Limiting processed sugar, replacing it with fruit. Limiting, chemicals. You don't need chemicals in your food. First of all, just get rid of processed food. Like that's an every once in a while treat. Should not really be in your pantry. Limiting a lot of butter and cheeses, that's kind of at the shorter. So, for example, it's like a tablespoon of butter a day. That's okay. That's on your morning toast, right? A couple of ounces of cheese. And there are differences in cheeses. So there's like feta and pecorino and romano are better for your brain than cheddar, for example. So there's some leeway here if you're like a total cheese fan, because it's also a good source of protein. So I think with children, it's important just to lead by example through moderation.
Yeah.
And that also goes for sleep. Okay, we're going to sleep now. We're going to rest now in the afternoon. We're going to take a breath instead of screaming. We're going to control our stress. You know, you can lead by example, and they're going to just absorb that, and they're going to become that kind of person who lives a life of moderation. This is not about being, you know, stringent on anything, because that just isn't sustainable, and it's not fun either, and nobody wants to be around you either. It's about leading a moderate life in all of these parts of your wheel. Yeah.
I think also what I hear when you talk about that, what I'm reflecting on is like the stress aspect. So like if we're stressing
About the food.
Our children's or our own or anything, like we're stressing about making sure they're gonna feel that stress. And then that's like the opposite of what
Exactly.
we're trying to achieve, you know?
Yeah, anything in health, like if you're stressing so much about getting healthy, then you're negating the good effects of that health thing you're doing with the stress of doing it. And that's an actual condition. It's called orthorexia, when you get too like focused on health and being healthy, then the scale gets tipped in too far of the other direction. So it's all about balance. Yeah. So how do we move our bodies? We're going to start with movement, and then we'll move into some meditation, mindfulness. In your pockets, you have the second page, Brain Health, Move, and Restore Guide. So examples of practices that fit into each category. So there are, on the other side, there's also a visual, if you're a visual learner. You've got a little wheel. Cardio is 150 minutes a week. Mind-body exercises are 60 minutes a week. Active rest, 70. Strength, 60. So what goes into each of these categories? So strength, ideally this is something beyond your body weight, because when you lift something beyond your body weight, it stimulates what's called brain-derived neurotropic factor, and it's just something that helps your neural synapses. And so it has to be like bands or cable machines, weights, medicine balls, something beyond your body weight. Cardio, I love walking as my first recommendation to people because it's free and it's readily accessible. Okay, everybody can start with walking. Running, hiking, swimming, dancing, boxing, HIIT is high intensity interval training. This is particularly useful for the brain because it's at this moderately vigorous level, which we want with our cardio. I recommend at least 90 minutes a week. You're getting this moderately vigorous exercise. So what is moderately vigorous? It's like if I were trying to sing a song while I'm working out, I would maybe lose every third word. Right? So I'm like, I'm fine, but I'm slightly not fine. You're sweaty, you're maybe a little red in the face, but you're not like climbing up to the top of a hill and you're at level 10. Okay? So we want to be getting that moderately vigorous in this cardio category. The minimum for cardio is 150 minutes a week. There is a lot of evidence pointing to more being better. It's not always true, but in cardio, it's true. Like up to 300 minutes a week, you get even more benefit. So that's a difficult thing to do. I think here in the jungle, it's hard to get cardio because we have short windows when we can get it, when it's like not 100 degrees. So that's why HIIT is nice, because if you have an indoor, yoga space, you can do it inside. And I also like HIIT because they're usually 30-minute sessions, and that's usually more encouraging for people. So that's why we'll go to it. I break it up into 5 30-minute sessions throughout the week, because the ideal is for your body to get frequency, just like you brush your teeth every day, just like you feed yourself breakfast every day or whatever you eat. The frequency is important. Okay, mind body. These are just examples. These are mine. Melt method. So that's like a self-massage class. You've got role model, another form of myofascial work. Gyrotonic, gyrokinesis, Egoscue, mobility, yoga, balance. Anything where you're slowing down and you're being really mindful of moving through breath, your positioning of your body. Active rest. This is my favorite category, and this is a daily category. It's 10 minutes every day. We really want the frequency with this because, especially with our modern lives and having so much stress, we want to just remind ourselves like, hey, it's okay. So even if it's like, I only have time to take 10 deep breaths before bed, fine. Whatever it is. Meditation, massage, yoga nidra, tai chi, qigong, breath work, hypnosis, acupuncture. So you get to make your own list of what fits into those categories.
What about I have 2 questions. Would you not put yoga under the strength category in some cases?
No, because it does not include an external weight. That's your body weight.
That's the key indicator.
It's strengthening, but it's not strength in the form the brain categorizes as strength, which has to be an external weight.
Additional weight outside your body.
Yeah.
And then what about like a journaling practice or something for
Active rest. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm going to give you an example. I think I printed it off. I just put in my newsletter today examples of active rest beyond some of those. A few more. Laughter. Laying in the grass and looking for animals in the clouds. Yes, for real. Remember doing that when you're a kid? Floating in your favorite body of water. Journaling. Something that makes you feel calm. Like you're all smiling, right? Talk about cardio and you're like, oh. And I talk about floating and you're like, oh, something nice. So active rest is that feeling. It's like the collective sigh. And with active rest, the reason I love talking about this component is like when I do these brain health retreats, we have this wheel. So really, the wheel is not very even, right? I've got a lot of cardio, I've got some mind body, I've got some strength, and I've just got this little pie of active rest. Like 70 minutes is the minimum. For me and my personal life, restorative practices and active rest is equal to movement. So it's 50 and 50%. Yeah, and I usually get that face of like, really? Because most people maybe stretch when they think about it, maybe do a massage once a month. That's about it. It's like, I don't really know how to do that because, we're just not taught. We're not taught how to rest beyond sleeping. Sleeping is another important part of brain health, but we're talking about resting, actively resting during the daytime hours. Reading, yep, reading. Absolutely. Active rest. You're actively resting. Laying in a hammock. Laying in a hammock is active rest. Yes. And your environment matters, right? We want to make this really nice, lovely environment with whatever makes you feel calm. Smells, sounds, your favorite blankie, whatever it is, right? Love a blankie. Hygge. What do they call it? Hygge. 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 Hygge.
I just tallied it up and it's 5.5 hours a week. Not just for anybody who's like me, who's like, oh, I'm gonna fit all this in.
How am I going to fit up all this?
5.5 hours.
Also,
5 and a little bit.
Also, like to the idea that along the same road of what you're saying, we can talk about it too, is like, let's get together and make a recommendation of what we can do during classes that hit that time frame based on the classes.
Well, it does. Okay, so the schedule in itself hits it, with the exception of maybe a little more weights, so and cardio. So we need a weight class and a cardio class. So we have yoga, which is mind body. We have melt, which is mind body. So there's two right there. The melt neurostrength kind of borderline is in the strength because we're using the bands. It's borderline strength and mind body. Any sort of meditation that you do within yoga, that's a 10-minute check, right, on the scale. Lots of active rest. There's lots of ways that we do that here through journaling practices. So
Friday class is somatic yoga, blended mind body.
Somatic, yeah, somatic, that's a mind body. And there's one other component that I didn't put on here, but cognitive challenges. And so this can be put into yoga, cardio. We put it into melt class the other day. Remember we did a melt class? All right. Why was I doing this? Because research has found is if you cognitively challenge yourself while stressing your body with an exercise, okay, so you could just be squatting or just doing push-ups or even just walking, and you're at the same time, it's like, okay, count to 100 in multiples of 7. Say the alphabet in reverse. We were trying to list off all of the countries on the west side of Africa.
We got 2.
Yeah, we got 2. We were in a competition between the online people and the in-person people, and I think we all.
But actually, that would be
failed.
like a fun kind of like class to do monthly. Would be like a trivia with balancing.
Yeah, so I call it NeuroFit because my NeuroFit class incorporates all of it. And I really should do a regular offering because it's fun. It incorporates all of the components: balance, strength, cardio, and cognitive challenges. All of those are part of a really brain healthy
I have an
movement.
idea for a cognitive challenge.
Please tell me.
Sí, bueno, chica. Okay.
And learn, that goes in the category of learning something new. Learning a new language is one of the best things you can do for your brain. Sorry, crossword puzzles don't really work because they're just kind of something that you've probably done and used to. But learning something new, gosh, I do it all the time. It's Alicia. I'm like trying to do things online and I don't know. I'm like, how do I do that thing on Instagram? That's learning something new. And I'm like, like when you get frustrated, that's when you know you're learning something new. So I'm like, oh, I'm so old. How am I so old? How do I not know how to do this? But I have to learn how to do it. Like think about all the things you learn from living here that you didn't learn. I never knew anything about generators before I moved here. Did you? No. Now you know about them, how to start them,
How to design a house.
how to design a house. Like you're learning all of these new things. So you challenge yourself doing art, like, right? Like, so if art's not in your wheelhouse of what you do that. Learn something new. So I think it'd be kind of a fun idea to make a calendar of a year and every month you do one new thing.
Cool.
Just think about like, what are other people into? Like, what are you really into? Oh, I'm not really into that. I'm not really into photography. Okay, I'm gonna walk down the road. I'm gonna do like photography walks and I'm gonna take pictures every Friday on my walks. And then I'm going to go through and I'm gonna learn how to edit photos. That's really good for your brain.
Like work, obviously in my job, I'm learning things all the time, different clients. So that would be good.
Absolutely, absolutely, yep, absolutely. Yes. So any questions about what fits or any other comments you want to make about suggestions, what might fit into these groups? I guess my question is, are you surprised? Are you doing some of these things?
Totally.
Do you feel like you're hitting the mark on the minutes per week?
No.
Where are you least impressive? Cardio. Across the board, I hear cardio. That's the only one you hit.
Of course you do.
What's your weekly? Which one? Mind body. Okay. But you came to Mel twice. You came to Mel twice. Last 2 weeks. So here's the challenge part. You take all of those first page guidelines and you have a 21-day challenge and everybody loves checking stuff off. What I love about this visual is the active rest box, just by virtue of doing it every day, is the biggest box. And I love that because it's the one that a lot of people don't do. If cardio is the thing you need to do, challenge yourself, make your box a little bit bigger, right? So I have it split up into, this 150 minutes, right? So this is 3 times a week, 50-minute sessions. If that doesn't work for your life, right? You have little people around, or you're just busy and you can't do 50 minutes at a time. Do what works. Do 25-minute sessions. It doesn't matter. Try to get to that 150-minute mark. Okay, so you have the challenge of doing this the next 3 weeks, no matter where you are, and then send it to me. You can walk. You walk.
Honestly, she's not the benchmark for this, but my mom would do that. She would be literally on the plane, like getting her steps in if we were like on long cross-country flights.
Yeah.
So
When we were renovating our house in England, like kind of we like I would help her with something like working wise and actually stepping in the spot because I had to get my steps in, but I had to help as well. But when it needed me, I had to just on the step.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we what is it that the least that we do is cardio?
It's not. I put it into 3 50-minute sessions. So it's, yeah. Yeah.
Would you say that the older you get, I heard that when you get to but probably not far from, that you shouldn't do as much like hip. You should do more strength. But I guess you put walking in.
No, dude, it's the opposite. It's put the strength in your hip. So my hit are always strength and cardio combined.
Right, okay.
And balance usually.
yeah, we've been doing more cardio for sure. Every week we're like, well, let's just give you cardio this time.
Okay, I'm gonna be on you. I'll be like, are you guys doing your cardio?
You know, looking at the workout like,
So
Can I double?
yes.
Like if I take HIIT, can I check off the box for strength and cardio?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. But then, I think so. But then you need to, I would say, maybe add another session of just like walking or something, like a lower level, because I want 90 of those 150 minutes to be intense, like how you feel. You're sweaty. If you're not sweaty, sorry, you're not working.
I mean, simply just like walking. Like Alice and I went for a little hike
Up the hills. Hills here.
and I was just walking.
Moderately vigorous.
With a 5-year-old, and
Yep.
I was sweating already.
That's right.
Just because of the heat here as well, and the
Yeah.
humidity, the climate. That's
Yep.
why I thought Stacey's house nice.
Yeah, hills. We do have hills on our side here.
I don't have air conditioning, so I'm always
I can't differentiate.
I stop making the bed like it's hot.
So I'm a why person. I want to know, why is all this effort? What is this actually doing to the structures of my brain? I'm not going to try to say it out loud because I have a young child, and so my brain is currently on reserve. Like my brain is in a need to know top level things only, and so I have no capacity to remember anything at the current moment. Do you know your brain actually changes postpartum? Like your gray matter actually decreases. Yeah.
And it makes you think. I'm like, am I getting dementia?
So
because I'm replacing words with other words, and I'm thinking about one thing,
No.
and then something
There's-
else just comes out of my mouth.
yeah, no, there's like a faux dementia that happens postpartum, and so Lauren and I are like, I got you. I know what word you're saying. You're slower because your body is very much it's a very like primal animal tiger mom thing where you only have time for your child. You don't really actually have time for anything extra. And so it can feel like you're getting dementia because you can lose your words, you can't remember anything, and it's because you're not supposed to. You have one job, which is to raise your young. And down the road, that's coming back to that sleep component that could be part of why women are more apt to getting Alzheimer's and dementia. That I 100% believe can be neutralized with these lifestyle factors, and especially yoga nidra. If you've never done yoga nidra, I first got into it when I was pregnant with my first child, and it's the only way I survived because I was so exhausted. And my friend was like, come take a yoga nap. I was like, what's a yoga nap? Sign me up for a nap. Like, I don't care what it is. Yoga nap. And I could not believe how productive I was on the days after I did that. So I do it at like 1 o'clock after lunch, because there's nothing else to do. Your brain's just like off because you're digesting. All the blood has gone to your digestive organs. So it's best to just take a siesta anyways. And I couldn't believe how much more productive I was in those afternoons. And for me, that was like well worth it. It's like, oh, my to-do list just went, and it wasn't like, oh, I need to think about what I need to do. I just went back and I got it done. And I don't know, I like productivity and efficiency, and it's hard sometimes when you're tired. So there's really kind of two categories here. Like, what is the cardio and the strength and the movement, the mindful movement, doing for our brains? Yeah, it increases the hippocampus size. So this is the memory center of your brain. It increases the gray matter. This is your executive functioning. So just normal basic tasks like remembering to take your shoes that you needed for walking later in the day, remembering your car keys, where they're at, like normal executive functions. It releases that brain-derived neurotropic factor, which helps with the synaptic health of the cells. It increases your cognitive speed and functioning, and it decreases that risk for metabolic disease, which is a cofactor for Alzheimer's and dementia. So we want to keep the whole body healthy. Another really, really dark horse that people don't know about is hearing. Get your hearing checked, especially the men in your life, get their hearing checked, because loss of hearing around that like 50, 60-year-old age is a very strong predictor for if you're going to get Alzheimer's and or dementia. Hearing checks, and make sure that if you or your loved one has hearing aids, wear them. Because when you don't wear them, you are brought out of the conversation, you're brought out of socialization, and socialization is a huge part of healthy aging. Hearing, that one always blows my mind. I'm like, active rest. So the other side, the restorative practices. So what happens when you sleep? This is more so like nighttime sleep, but also in a yoga nidra. Yoga nidra is amazing because you can get within a 10-minute practice like 2 hours worth of actual sleep that you would get at night. So I love efficiency, so I'm all about it. And what happens when you sleep is what's called the glymphatic system. It comes in, it's like these little sweepers, and they come out and they sweep out all of the gunk. So we have two proteins that get really gunky. They're amyloid beta proteins and tau proteins, and they get tangled, and you've heard about it. It's not like they haven't said, you know, this is exactly what's causing Alzheimer's. Nobody knows, but they're getting closer to figuring out. But they found in the brains of people with Alzheimer's and dementia, they have these tangles. And so when you sleep, we know that that's when that system is brought up, because you don't have the metabolites of food getting in the way of all of this functioning. So it can just focus on the brain itself. So that's why sleep and active rest during the waking hours is also really important. Yeah. Your amygdala is your emotional regulation center. That's what helps you control stress, and that's what we're heightening with active rest, restorative practices. And again, increases the size of your hippocampus, which is your memory center. It also increases dopamine, serotonin, GABA. We know these are mood boosters, stress lower, and it actually shifts your brain waves to a calmer state. And there's do you have like a playlist you use? There's like different brainwave states so that you can put on. Yeah, so that's a really great option for your relaxation time. You could put on, like, they have sound bowl, you know, playlists on Spotify. They also have which one is it? Delta is the yeah. So there's different hertz, but Delta is the state that's like the most relaxed. And you can look up these kind of playlists on online, wherever you like to get your music, and put that on during your active rest time to really maximize your brain power.
I feel like this would be something, I know you're talking about in your newsletter and stuff, but I think for me, when I think about like a yoga nidra, I'm like, it's not like,
I don't even know what it is.
it's not as important, because it's not like building my muscles or, you know, increasing my strength or anything. And so I feel like there's probably a lot of people like me who are kind of like, we don't really see the point, but actually that it is so important. And you've got it on here, more important than, not important, but like more need than strength and mind body
More
stuff.
daily need.
So I just feel like talking about the somatic yoga and things like that, about it's not just like a fun little meditative thing to come do, it's actually really important for your brain health.
It's as important.
What is yoga nidra? What is it?
Yoga nidra.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yoga.
Yoga.
So what's it different to?
So most people, when they think of meditation, I don't know, what do you think of when you think of meditation?
Breathing
Mm-hmm.
and quiet.
Quiet.
Yeah, and just trying not to think.
Trying to not think. That's what most people think, is like, I'm doing this thing, I'm sitting, my hips are uncomfortable, I'm trying not to think, I'm thinking about my to-do list, okay, I'm here, I'm so annoyed that I can't do this right. And so not everybody's like that. And we need to also work in that realm, and being still and learning how to be with ourselves. And I personally feel like Yoga Nidra is a really great entryway into the world of meditation, because you can lay down, you can sit, you can do it anywhere. You can do it on a plane. I do it on a plane a lot. Put in your earphones, and you're just guided. You're guided for 10 minutes up to 20, 25 minutes. And so you can pick your length of time, and it's just an easy way to start. Because you just have to listen. You have to be able to lay down. So I like people to just, like, especially if you're new to something, a practice like that, start easy. And I personally just think it's very easy. And I understand the, like, well, what is this doing, and why do I have to do this, and because the science tells us it's good for your brain, and it's good for your stress level. And we live in a constant state of stress, and it's not that stress is bad. I mean, stress is what keeps you from walking into the road and getting hit by a car, because you're aware. But it also, if you stay in that state all the time, it also has huge, profound impacts on the inflammatory systems of your body and your brain, which is part of your body. And that's why. So, yeah, I think you're right. Continuing to heighten the why, is this important, and also the motivator of, like, why is it important to you? I don't know. Like, at the end of the day, like, what is your motivating factor? Like, I would assume your father is part of your motivating factor of why you're here. Your grandfather. You have to think about, like, not from a perspective of fear, but rather empowerment of, like, for me, once I learned, like, all of the science of what's physically changing and all of the statistics of, like, if I do this, I am very unlikely to get this disease. Wow, okay, sign me up. I'm gonna do something if I know why and I know that it's worth the effort. Yeah. The other part of this is caregiving. You are likely to know somebody near you very soon who has it, and caregivers are much more likely to get Alzheimer's and dementia than people who are not caregiving. And so the more that you can practice these good habits, share it with the loved ones, prepare yourself, if that happens, the better off you will be.
Stacy, what actually includes neurofitness?
Neurofitness, that's just kind of my own thing that I made up. So it's balance, cardio, strength, and those cognitive challenges. I put those 4 components in one class. It's basically a brain health class in 30 minutes. Brain health in a bottle. That's Stacy's brain class. But even balance, I don't know if it was a study in Brazil. It was like if you could stand on one foot for 30 seconds, and this is just with eyes open, you could reduce your risk of metabolic disease by like 30%. In MEL class, we do it with the eyes closed to improve our proprioceptive body and shut down the eyes, which we rely on too much. And so balance in itself is an enormous part of Alzheimer's and dementia. Do you know why? To get back to the thing I didn't want to say. That's the number 1 cause of death, is falling. That's how most people die from Alzheimer's and dementia, from falling.
Mm-hmm. I gave myself for my birthday last year and balance board.
Hey,
that's
good.
The most amazing, funny thing you can give to yourself. I know it could look scary, but actually super easy once you get your, glucose ahí. Pero it's super divertido, it's super fun.
Yeah.
And actually you sweat. And you cannot think about anything else because if not, you're gonna fall down and
Exactly. Hola. If you're learning something new and you're kind of in that, fun semi-exercise stress state, that's when the brain's just going, and you can feel it. If you step on a balance board and your body's just going like this, people are like, am I doing it wrong? I'm like, no, you're learning new things. You're doing it right. Keep going. They come off, and the second set, they go back on, and it's like calm, because your brain already learned that thing. Slackline. Oh, that's like the best thing, especially for kids. Best thing. Focus. They have to focus.
The mind is shaking like crazy, but it gives you a full mirror of what's happening in your body and your nervous system.
Yep.
Slackline is shaking like crazy because your mind is like crazy.
Yep.
And when the mind relaxes because you relax.
That's right.
I remember there was one at NASA.
Mm-hmm.
You remember?
Yeah, I know. That was so fun.
Are there any other questions, comments?
Well, what should we do? The last page where we set our goals?
Thank you. So now that you've learned all of these things, and not just about movement and meditation, which is the bulk of our conversation today, but all of these other components of brain health that we touched upon, choose says 3 areas that need more attention. So look at your circle and what is, not doing so great. Write those 3 areas down. And then below that, now that I gave you a few ideas, think about just one simple action for each category that you're going to start this week, something easy that you can do this week. So if you're not getting enough cardio, I'm going to go on a walk this week. This could be that easy.
to share our goals
Mm-hmm.
or actions rather.
Is everyone almost complete? So I'd love to hear one from each of you. Lisa,
Just one?
just one. Just give me one.
I have 5. I'll start with. Select 2 brain health recipes from your book.
Yay! Perfect. Lauren.
I'm going to sign up for a course I've been thinking about for a while.
Yay! What is it?
I think I want to get into integrated nutrition. I'll add to my meal loss.
Rad.
So some I kind of know about, but it's like going back to school.
Rad.
I think a really good deep dive course.
Wow. Jen, what do you got?
Incorporating more mindfulness and active rest into my day.
Great. What appeals to you, like out of the active rest category?
I want to do the yoga nidra.
Okay.
I already read, but I'm not reading like
I'll send you a recording,
really suspenseful things.
and you can do it.
It's not restful.
I'll send. Yeah, I'll send you a recording, and you can start.
That'd be great.
Gemma.
So mine was actually, well, one of mine, so I was just saying, like, I would like to maybe do, I've said it before, daily meditation. I kind of started and then I kind of stopped because it was like thinking to other things. I was like, this is so wonderful. I was like, I used to go do workout, and then at the end you do like meditation, and it was like, because you've worked out, and then you've done your meditation, I felt like the best. So I'm like, go for a run and then meditate.
Yeah, and that's a good point. For some people, especially if you kind of have a busy mind, like get the willies out. Like move your body first if you need to do that. Like know yourself. Maybe you're not the person to just go sit down and be like, okay, I'm here. Like that just doesn't work for some people. So know what works for you. Bless you. Do you know about Insight Timer?
No.
It's a wonderful free app, and there are loads of meditations and breath work and everything. Just they're free. Everywhere around the world. It's a beautiful thing. Teachers all over the world. Esther? It's called Insight Timer. It's been around forever. They've just did a recent revamp on their website, and it's in their app, and it's awesome. It's the OG. It has been around forever, and it's really nice. There's free content, and then there's paid courses. We should put some stuff on there. On my list of like million things to do, I'm like, oh, I should really put a course on there. But you can take live classes. You can do recordings. They're great. What are you going to work on this week?
Journalism. I used to do it when I was in college, like in university, and it helped me a lot with releasing stress.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's something that also keeps my mind focused.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Excellent.
And then did you just take 20 minutes in the morning of like freestyle writing, like just conscious stream of thought? Sometimes it's like I'm sitting here and have a warm drink, and then it just like pours out. It's like all the things that are swirling up here. I'm so supportive. That's also on mine, just to get back into that.
Or like to-do lists, or like
No, just like what's coming up. It's just like a conscious stream of thought. Like again, a lot of times it just starts with kind of like I don't really know what to write. I don't know, and then it's just like this happened, and it's just like a conscious stream of thought. 20 minutes.
Yeah, it doesn't have to have any sense at the beginning. It's just the first thing that comes up to you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times it's like around kids or relationships or self or so just try it. It starts as your to-do list.
Yeah.
You out of the way. Write that down. Get that stuff out of the way and then see what's on the next layer.
Yeah. Yeah, just like the running, like you might have to get the to-do list on the paper first, so then you can relax, right? So I have my sheet over here. If you would like to sign up for my newsletter, I give all sorts of little nuggets like this every week. Not just about brain health. It's just I'm talking about it this month of June a lot because it's Brain Health Awareness Month. And so this is a wonderful time to start. And then here, if you want to look through this book, I found the pyramid. And then you should look through each of the sections. Take some time with this book. I'll leave it over there. There's, like, for example, here's fish as its own. Sardines are
Like types of fish.
Types of fish. Sardines are on there. That's pretty high. And find maybe everybody find like one recipe. Take a picture of what you want to do this week. Okay. I'm going to keep it open to this page so you can see the overview. Thank you so much for your attention and coming. Appreciate you. My pleasure.
Very encouraging.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I think it was really nice. I don't think it's really hit, but I keep it.